welcome to FACEHAMMER episode 93. It's me, Rustaface. I'm joined by B Dizzle the Shizzle and Les. I was trying to say something not going to upset you, and I couldn't think of
Beard
anything.
envy Les, because like I've not got as good a beard as AOS Coach, right?
No, exactly.
So I feel like I was going to spray grey sear into it just to like make myself.
You need to do it in stripes,
yeah.
So this is the Sons of Behemat release show. So we're going to talk everything Mega-Gargant in this show, as you can see.
Sweet.
And so we'll put timestamps in the video because we're going to do a little bit of an introductory ramble if you want to get straight to the rules.
Yeah, so everyone's just gone.
So now we can say whatever we want, right? So
if you want to jump around, we can even stamp talking about one type, the other type, and that'd be really helpful if people want to jump backwards and forwards and they are well into gate crashers or krakens or whatever. Then you can just click that. And
I'm definitely into kraken, but it's a different type of kraken.
And gate crashers, not like a dance club in like the 90s. So.
I actually now want to paint my Mega-Gargant with like disco colours.
They've got plenty of stuff on their belt. Why not have a disco ball around it?
Yeah, might as well. So we've done an unboxing and a book overview, but this is going to be the in-depth review. Luckily enough, I've been sent, I should say, as it come to me, one of these bad boys. So you can see in all his glory. I'm going to try and paint this for the weekend because we're recording this in midweek, and then I'll do a video on that as well. But I think it's probably a good thing to people to see the difference in size. So one, it's a round base, and this is Archeon next to.
And Russ has not done the angle thing where he's put Archeon.
So Archeon is much bigger. Yeah. He's almost the same. No, so
yeah.
So it's about the same size as whatever. What's his pony called? Dorogar or something?
Dorgar. Yeah, if you put, he's got bigger legs. He's Mr. Thunderfires. He's obviously doesn't skip leg day, which is advice that everyone should
skipped
live by.
Head day. Look at the size of it.
Well, ironically, when I was looking at it, I think the heads would look fine on the little ones.
Really?
So I think you could almost head swap on the little ones.
Oh, that'd look cool because you'll end up with spares, won't you?
Yeah, you do. You end up with spare heads and bits. So I'm gonna use it to customize my little ones. For those wondering, how big is it compared to a Bandai Space Marine?
The same size.
The same size. So
that's
there you go. So I think for all those who
this is really good radio for those listening on the podcast, by the way.
Sorry,
so if
go
you
check out on YouTube.
We'll make sure to share plenty of pictures of this. So if you want to check out our social medias or whatever, then Russ will blog his progress for contrasting that in 25 minutes.
And you can see our social media information down here on the screen. Hopefully that's going to work. I wasn't going to look an idiot.
And it'll probably be across the middle of the screen because that's where it goes. But it's probably
Oh no, I've got a banner up now of all the things, but of all the time. So you know all the time what our Twitter handle is.
Social media is nice.
So we should just say we've still got our merchandise pre-orders up for the objective markers.
Yeah.
And lots of nice swanky dice.
Yeah, and if you are playing this army, then having some objective markers might be slightly more interesting than it's been in the past, right?
Yeah, it's a big part of the way that these guys work is objective play. So the last thing you want to do is forget about your objectives. So excuse the dodgy sort of like pun bit, but like buy the objective markers, they're quite good. We're really
It's fine.
Amazing. Got those in the dice as well, which I had a game recently, and it's just so nice. I got out one of my previous. I was practicing with Bone Splitters dice bags, and inside it was 5 sets of 10 dice in completely different colours. And I just remembered how much it was in that.
I'm waiting for my blue and my bronze and my white ones to turn up with my objective marker because when it's on release. So excited about that.
Yeah, they should be dispatching in October. Obviously, to get hold of them, go over to elementgames.co.uk, link will be in the description. You can order those internationally. If you get any issues, you can always contact us as well. So we're more than happy to try and sort out your stuff. Obviously, we've been putting the FaceHammer Worldwide videos up on YouTube, sort of drip feeding those. We haven't sent out those prizes yet because some of the people haven't given me their addresses. So I don't know if you watch this, but if Spoogie Paint can give me his address, that'd be amazing.
I believe it may be in the Twitter inbox.
I think that's someone else actually, but yeah, I'll have a look.
Okay,
but
fine.
Yeah, cool. So we should get into the Sons of Behemat show. Though obviously these should be up for pre-order now. So again, Element Games, all that stuff, help us out.
Yeah, click the link, helps us lots.
So I think we're going to start off with a show. We're going to basically go through the allegiance abilities. We're going to talk about the tribes. So we'll explain it, but what you don't know is that each whoever your general is will dictate your tribe, and each tribe's got its own set of allegiance abilities that sort of bolt on top of the standard ones. And then we've got the points, which are already in the general's handbook, so you should already know what they are anyway. Yeah. And then actually we'll take a break, and I've got some example army lists, some of the playtesters lists that have been used, and this is a bit of a weird battle tome because there's basically about 12 lists you can possibly write in any combination.
Like literally that's it, because there's no allies. There's no allies, is there either?
No,
that's it.
So, but what's good about it is all the artifacts and choices, that's where the intricacies will come in, and which allegiance you pick. So actually, although it sounds very limited, even for me looking at it, there's 4 or 5 different lists I want to try out, which if you take any battle tome is probably the same with any book, right?
Yeah, can I confuse things from the offset by asking, can you take Gotrek in with these guys because he ignores every rule ever?
I have no idea what Gotrek does.
I have not looked yet. So
being the only one who actually cares about the old world ginger dwarf, then you could probably find that answer.
I mean, it's because he's holding an Empire dude in his hand. Why not have Gotrek running after the thing that he should be slaying? Why
you could green stuff a red woolen cloak around the giant's hand and say it's and his ham-sized fist. No, it's a bit bigger than a ham, isn't it? But anyway, so for those,
this is lost on me. I'm like,
well, I've just basically taken the same descriptive paragraph out of every Gotrek and Felix book going back like 20 years. So that's in like
Southernland wall cloak and specific boots. And
he pulls it around him and does not feel the cold and all that sort of
stuff.
It's
like tightening their belts in The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings.
Or just like tugging a braid in Eye of the World. Yeah.
Or shedding a single tear for reading the book. No. Cool. So let's get, without further ado, that's all the intro stuff done. So we're going to get into the main topic, which we'll go through the allegiance abilities first.
Cool.
And we are back from the break, and let's get straight into the allegiance abilities for the Sons of Behemat. Or I like to call them the S.O.Bs, which...
S.O.B. Sits in the battle?
I was going to go for Son of a... But anyway. Son of a Behemat. Yeah. Well, Sons of Behemat, that's what it stands for. It does make me think of like Austin 316. Let's start off with the allegiance abilities. So...
let's do it.
They've got the rule mightier makes rightier. That's it. Mightier makes rightier. Which this is kind of quite important because without this, the army book and some of the initial reactions to the community has been quite entertaining this week.
Yeah, the sky's falling. Oh wait, it's not.
Until the next day, and then they realise this rule exists.
What page is this on for people who are?
I have no idea. It's in the book at the allegiance page.
It's on the allegiance abilities page. I've not got the page numbers in front of me, unfortunately.
Either, so for sure you can find it in the contents, but it's the main allegiance.
It's the main allegiance bit that you're going to be looking at, which tells you all of the different like the Titans of battle traits.
Perfect.
So essentially, every Man-Crusher-Gargant, which are the little ones, count as 10 models instead of 1, and every Mega-Gargant counts as 20 instead of 1. So they essentially have like the Ogre More Tribes rule where they count as more models. And there is a designer's note that say that if the objective the mission's using a different way of capturing, then you can ignore that and use the mission.
Yeah.
Which I don't just to cover, I think, but
it's quite a big thing when you think you can take a unit of 3 Man-Crushers, right? And is that right that each Man-Crusher guard counts as 10 instead of 1?
Yeah.
So you have 3 of them near an objective, you've got 30 guys.
Yeah. And
it then becomes like...
And the big ones are 20, but the important thing is even if they got one wound left, they're still 20 guys, right?
Yeah.
So they don't deteriorate.
Straight away. I know in playtesting, like initially it caught me out a couple of times. Like I said, initially, like a couple of times I played it, it's one of those things where you have to factor it in, but you're like, oh yeah, I can't get any of these objectives because there is like 20 guys here, regardless of how many wounds it's got left. So it's very, very important, and it's like crucial for the way the army plays, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when we've seen from people running the Grumple task list, the Stonehole list, and stuff like that, it really it changes things, and it really does put them right there on a level footing. Obviously, it's only one dude; you can't be in multiple places at once, you can't spread out, etc. But it is quite a big deal to have one thing in one place that has that much mass as far as objective scoring goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it does make a big difference because even if you charge it with like 30 guys and they kill 11, it's still going to outscore you.
Yeah.
The other rule that you have is chuck rocks. So in your shooting phase, you pick one friendly Man-Crusher Gargant, which is the little ones, unit, wholly within 18 of your general. Each model can make a shooting attack. So it gives them a chuck rock attack, which is 18 inches, D3 attacks, falls free, it's 1 rend, damage D3. So
yeah,
it's not too bad.
No.
Well, they've got a decent move value as well, right? So 18 doesn't sound far, but they're not slow.
No, and it's what's quite good about it. It does give you a way to kill stuff and heroes and things behind like lines of infantry.
Yeah,
an 18-inch range is still quite far.
Yeah. What's the movement of Man-Crusher? About 8?
8, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still quite a long threat range, really.
Well, it's like 26 inches, so
it gives you potential turn 1 threat, that's something that I always consider with these type of things. Like most people are used to having spells that are a 24-inch range maximum or whatever. If you go first, you can't consider hurting someone with that turn 1. So it's just nice to know that you're going to get 1 extra turn out of it, or that your opponents have to deploy 2 inches back, which is also a bonus.
Yeah, and then the Lord and Master Ability is basically just saying that whatever your general is, whether it's a kraken-eater, a war stomper, or a gatebreaker, which are the big ones, if you didn't know, the mega-gargants, then that basically means that you have to use those allegiance abilities, which we're going to talk about shortly. So,
cool.
I think we'll start off with the Taker Tribe, which, if you watch the Battle Tome overview, my initial feeling is that these guys will be pretty good in match play. So, basically, they've got 2 overarching abilities. So one of them is get rid of them. So basically it means that when you use your mightier makes rightier rule, that Man-Crusher Gargants count as 15 and Mega-Gargants count as 30. So it just ups their objective capping potential, which I think is really important.
Yeah, particularly on like the little guys, again, like, that's a massive amount of models if you've got 3 guys in a range of an objective. It just means like how often are you going to have sort of like 45 guys in range of a 6-inch objective?
I mean, how really many objectives can you physically fit that many models around?
Yeah,
I was going to say physics is going to stop you in a lot of situations. Like you don't get to be perfectly in the center in like a flower, a perfect daisy chain around it, do you? Often you can only just about squidge in, and movement restricts it a bit more. Being able to just put the nose of 3 models within that range and do that is it's pretty unique, really.
And also, it's like you said, it's just like tipping it. So like you have the Mega-Gargant and you're just within that 6-inch mark. You're like 5.5 inches in, and you're like, okay, cool. So then you're always going to be scoring that 30, which is like massive.
Yeah, and the next rule is a bit situational, but could potentially be quite powerful. So it's got more stuff for my collection, and basically, if each time an enemy model with an artifact of power is slain, so it doesn't matter how they're slain, just if they're slain, you can roll for a triumph. So, like, it's not a bad thing. Just get a free triumph mid-game. Could be, if you get like re-roll saves on your boss man or something, that's pretty important.
Yeah, exactly. They're unrestricted as well, aren't they? Triumphs, you don't need to be within range of a general or anything like that. It's just you have a thing. It's one of the huge strengths of them. I think people underrate it.
Yeah, and you can have multiple triumphs per game. Is it like every time, isn't it? So like you can have multiple triumphs per game if you're killing those heroes. If you've got loads of sort of little support heroes and you can pick them off with maybe the Chuck Rock ability, it could make a difference. It's one of those things.
With one as well, because of the points of the army inherently.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think opponents will forget about, but you won't, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got the command traits. So you've got monstrously tough, which gives you 40 wounds.
Yeah.
Old and gnarly, which lets you reroll save rolls of 1. Louder than words, which adds 1 to the attack of the shipwrecker club, because it's got to be a kraken-eater as your general for this one.
Yeah.
Strong right foot. When you use the get off my land to kick an objective, it goes 3d6 instead of 2d6. When we go to about this in a second.
So much. Yeah.
So obviously that's very important. That one, you count as more models, but obviously you get, if you take this trait, you're better at kicking the objective, which I think is why this army is so good. Then you've got very acquisitive, which you could take 1 extra trophy, and your general can have up to 2 artifacts. So basically, you can have 2 artifacts on your general, so you can make it pretty
tasty,
pretty good.
Yeah.
But this one, I really like this one, and it's extremely intimidating. Subtract from hit rolls for enemy models that are within 3.
Just flat.
Yeah.
Just flat. So artifacts then, as well for these guys. So I don't know if you had a chance to read these, or you want to.
I've had a look through them. Obviously, when we were playtesting them, I've not. I've skimmed them the other day when I pre-read the book just to make sure. But yeah, I think I quite like them. I think the number 6 one's the one that I quite like, just because of the Kraken
skin sandals. I was going to say it's the one that I've ring fenced for the one that I prefer, but I think they're all quite good. Like I was looking at these, there isn't any in here you go, oh, they're all rubbish. Or that one's, those 2 are the best. It's like you look at it and go, you could take either of them. So we got the Jaws of the Moglodon, not the Megalodon.
Yeah.
Though. Which I think is because he's got that big jaw on the back of his back.
Yeah. With his Idnef boat.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
You go sailing. Once per phase, reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, or 1 save roll that for an attack that targets the bearer or attacks made by the bearer. So basically, you can reroll a dice in every phase. So I think
that's pretty handy.
Great. I mean,
with just because of getting through those extra range attacks with the missile weapons and stuff like that could be quite handy. Or
just saving a damage 4 attack from a Mortek crawler or something like that.
I was going to say, having played this or played against this at least more guys. Are you looking for ways to make your guys survive? Are you looking for ways to make your guys hit more? Are you looking for higher rend? Is there anything in particular that you think is the obvious way to go? Or is it just it's wide open and they can kind of just fit to people's choices? Or is it they do suffer to multiple damage 1 attacks, therefore re-rolling saves over 1 is a good idea, etc.
So for me, playing against it a lot was one of the things that I found was that they do degrade quite quickly when you start taking wounds off them. So I'd be looking at trying to keep them alive personally. It's just that, with 35 wounds is still quite a lot. But it's only 1 round of attacks from 30 or 20 Hermdar, Herfgar Berserkers. So yeah, I'd be looking at trying to keep them alive or try and mitigate that rather than doing the damage output. But again, I think it depends on how you build your list or what you expect to play. I don't know about what you think, Russ. I know you didn't actually do much playtesting for this one, but your initial thoughts of it looking at the book.
For me, it's situational, but I think it's whenever I look at any ability, defense comes into more phase play than offense. So if you buff your combat attack, you only get to use that when you're striking in a combat phase. Whereas if you've got a defensive buff, that works in their shooting phase, in the combat phase, every time they hit you, not just when you attack. So I prioritize defense over offense, but sometimes you just need to kill something. And the good thing about this artifact is that it's flexible.
I love that. I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
So
that's why I asked the question, because its flexibility is worth a lot in Warhammer in general.
I think this is one of the best ones in the list for consistency. Like if hitting with that high damage attack, or saving that high damage attack, or when you roll that 1 to wound and there's that thing left that you're just about to kill but you just don't quite do it. It just helps mitigate randomness of dice, which is always good.
Yeah,
I always think rerolls are better than modifiers. Just in general,
Is it? You said that one person can take 2. Is it 2 artifacts or 2 traits?
2 artifacts. A trait gives you 2 artifacts. So
are you looking for a pairing here as a result? Or you're like, well, I'm going to go all out combat, and therefore I want to do this and I want to do this. And now he's not very resilient, but when he hits, he's a wrecking ball.
I personally think you take the -1 to hit one every time. Because again, it's defense. Of the 2 artifacts, there isn't an artifact that's as good as -1 to hit if you're within 3. Yeah. So I think that's just a better artifact if you look at it like that.
Got you.
So giving it the trait to take
book.
2,
just exactly the same as Curse Book, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you could. There is. I think you've got options, haven't you? I do agree. The standout one's the -1, but the fact that you could maybe take 2 artifacts, use the Jaw of the Moglodon like this, which then allows you to re-roll those saves if you need to, like as well as then getting the Kraken skin sandals, which gives you a more punchy attack as well. That could work. I think what's really nice is that there's options, which is quite cool.
I'd say there's no right or wrong. I think that for me personally, my initial thoughts, I know always normally play safe with this sort of stuff. And what you'll find is sometimes when you play a game, you might find that Glowy Lantern is just essential. Because,
I was just going to say.
Yeah. So the next one you've got is Walloping Tentacle, which is you at the start of the combat phase, pick an enemy hero in 3, roll a dice on a 4+, they take a mortal wound, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks that target the hero. Now, it doesn't say your attacks, so I'm guessing it allows you to, if you had like a unit of Man-Crushas and your general, and you wallop them, your Man-Crushas would also get the bonus. So it's
handy,
quite good. It's a bit it's only on a hero and it's on a 4+, but it is at the start of the hero phase. It's okay, but it's
not you pick it at the start of the battle, which would be you never take me. So and that's flexible. You can, if you're in combat with multiple people, you can pick which one, or you can head in their direction. But it being on a 4+, I think probably means that I'd be erring away from that one personally.
Yeah, but again, your opponent's still got to. I think if it was more devastating, like it made them attack last, it would probably be very good.
Yeah, you probably
yes.
Yeah, or did more mortal wounds, did D6, did D3, did whatever.
Or a 3+. There's a big difference between a 3+ and a 4+.
Massive difference.
So the Jar of Bernie Grog is quite interesting. So it's once per battle at the start of the combat phase, pick one enemy unit within 3. On a 2+, it takes D3 mortal wounds, and until the end of the phase, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by friendly gargants that target that unit. On a 1, you take D3 mortals. So essentially, I really like this because you do it at the start. Yeah. So there is a chance you hurt yourself, but re-rolling to wounds is massive, right?
Yeah, you're looking for an upside, and that is one hell of an upside if you've really got to get rid of that character or that unit, because it's not a model. That makes a really big difference. And I think with being able to, it's not range based. Obviously, you pick the unit, but that unit could be, I don't know, like a foot wide on the table, and you could have 2 guys on this end, 1 guy in the middle who's used it, and 1 guy on the other end. They're all going to get a bonus.
As well, if it's going in and you're your Mega-Gargant's doing it, and he's got quite, he goes in with the Shipwrecker Club. It's 8 attacks full profile, damage 2.
Yeah.
And wounds on 3s. So how many times have we rolled 1s and 2s when you're expected to put those through? The fact that you can do pop this and then re-roll those wound rolls.
That's a very good point, actually. 3s with a re-roll is a very that's
also
huge reliability.
If it combos nicely and you get the triumph with the reroll hits, reroll hits, reroll wounds, you really make sure that you smash that unit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I feel like a Daughters of Cain unit then.
I know, right?
Reroll hits and wounds. Into Battle Shock.
Just turn up in
50
your knickers,
billion
don't
attacks.
worry,
No.
you'll be fine.
with my bikini. So then you've got the Net of the Beast Reaver. So this one I quite like, because you pick an enemy monster within 3 on a 4-up until the end of the phase, -1 for its hit rolls, and you can add 1 to hit rolls at target. So if you've got the trait as well, you could essentially make like Archeon -2 to hit, and then you could all be at +1 to hit him.
Yeah.
So I
and it's
actually
good.
quite like this one.
The combat phase, it's not your combat phase either. That's a lot of potential to use that. Although there's the thing where obviously we'll be a bit upset if your opponent doesn't have a monster or if it is on a different side of the table to you.
I think though, like there are some things that you worry about going in and one-shotting your giant, and I think generally they're going to be like flappy monsters.
Yeah, definitely.
So in my head, it's like being the fact you can hit them at the start of the combat phase and make them -1 to hit might actually mitigate the damage. And it's only on 4, but
makes Avlanor hit on a 5 if you've got the -1 to hit and that, which then means that he's not putting his attacks through with like the limited amount. I mean, he will, it just makes a big difference,
Yeah, both of all the things we're talking about as well. It's not hits against the bearer; it's just hits.
Yeah,
and that's that's. I think one thing that people have to bear in mind, which is ironic given what we're going to talk about with the next trophy. This army does not have magic, so these are kind of effects that are like spells. They are like debuffs, and we're very used to playing with them. Whatever army you're playing, even if you're playing Fire Slayers or whatever, you still get to buff your dudes with this stupid bloody rune. These guys don't have that, so you've got to get it from somewhere. And even if it is unlikely, just like Russ said, if you're going to be worried about facing that type of thing and you don't get to use this in some games, you're going to be very thankful that you do have it in others. And people might even avoid you, which is just a good.
Yeah, and it might just be enough for your opponent to think, I'm not going to put my monster into you because you might roll a 4-up.
Yeah.
So then...
Watch this on an objective.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
While you kick it around the table. So the Glowy Lantern, which is you can attempt to cast a spell in your hero phase unbind. Same manner as a wizard. Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield. I guess it does unlock endless spells for you.
Cogs would be the big one, I'd say, if you're looking to definitely get into range of people. Yeah,
because you've got the spare points. Yeah, you got the spare points, haven't you? Because everything's always there or thereabouts.
So I think like the Glowy Lantern might become a necessary one to take, which then might mean you take the double artefact because you want one of the sandals or you want the jaws.
Or you could take Geminids and you could have the potential to have minus multiple debuffs there. I mean, rather than giving yourself...
you don't want to get hit by Geminids.
You don't, but you also don't want people with a unit of 40 skeletons hitting your giant or whatever it is with Van Hells or Archeon or whatever. And if you did do that, you could have 3 places on the table or 1 place double debuffed, 1 place single debuffed, where things are at -1 to hit. And I know from having played with a lot of armies that use that as a key part of their strategy, the reason I took it is because my things weren't survivable, and rather than try and make them more survivable, I just tried to make it so they were hit less. It works out pretty well, particularly if your strategy is to get onto an objective, stand at the front of it, be in the way, survive as long as possible. And I do think there's a good chance that if this army wins games, it might win quite a lot of games with one model left on the table at the end of turn 4 and none at the end of turn 5. And you're like, cool, well, I got there first. I stood there for 3 turns. I killed like the things I needed to kill or blocked up the things I needed to block. My army's wiped out, but I've got the major.
Because I've outscored you on all the objectives because you're not pushing me off them. Yeah,
exactly.
I think the Glowy Lantern is cool for the endless spells you unlock. And the Kraken Skin Sandals, which is just extra damage basically. Your Stomp goes up to 3 attacks instead of 2, the Rend goes up to 3 instead of 2, and the damage is to flat 3 instead of D3. So the spike in damage output is huge for this.
That is tasty. Yeah. That is really, really good.
Yeah, and your Stomp is freeze and freeze. So if you go to like 3 attacks, freeze, Rend 3, damage 3, rather than 2 attacks, freeze, Rend 2, damage D3. So I think the increase in damage is just incredible.
It turns him into the Prime on turn 2, doesn't it? So, and that's just one of his attacks. So
so I'm on the War Scroll now, so
cool.
For the kraken-eater. So we're going to do the allegiances. We'll talk about the War Scroll for each one. So we'll do the kraken-eater, then we'll go into the next tribe, and we'll talk about that. And then once we've got through all that, we'll talk about the Man-Crushas last. So 35 wounds, 4 up save, movement 11, this guy.
Yeah.
He does degrade as he takes damage down to a movement of 7, so it doesn't go down massively.
No.
His hurled debris missile attack loses range, starts off at 24, ends up at 12. 3 attacks, falls freeze, Ren 1, damage D3, so shooting attacks, pretty good. And then the other thing is his Shipwrecker Club, which gives him 8 attacks to start, goes down to 5 as he gets hurt. Freeze, Ren 2, damage 2. He's got the Death Grip, 1 attack, freeze, 2s, -3, damage D6. So pretty swingy in terms of damage because you've got all the D6, D3. That's why I like the sandals, because it's just free. It just gets rid of that. Like, oh, I got 2 through and I rolled double 1, like on the D3. Yeah. And you got a whole slew of special rules. These are actually quite common against all the giants. So some of these they all have them. So Almighty Stomp, reroll hit rolls of 1 for the stomp unless you're on a monster, like you're fighting a monster. Yeah. Crushing charge. After you make a charge, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1. On a 2+, it takes D3 mortal wounds if it's a monster, or D6 if it's not a monster. So what's nice about this, it's each enemy unit. So you could tag multiple units and do D6 mortals to all of them.
Cool.
The Death Grip, you get to reroll 1s if you target a monster. So it's the opposite of the Almighty Stomp.
The Stomp, yeah.
And I'll talk about Longshanks because that's and some of the common abilities. So then we'll go back and talk about Get Off My Land because it's specific. So they have something called Longshanks. So when it makes a move, it can ignore models that have a wound characteristic of 10 or less and terrain features that are less than 4 inches tall. And it can't finish its move on top or within 3. So effectively, it's like a flyer, but only if the model's got less than 10 wounds. Which is still quite nice because you could almost like stride over the top of enemy units.
Yeah. Which makes sense, really, for it to be. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult to get across those units because of the size of the base, but it's.
Yeah.
And stay outside of 3, but, you know.
Yeah, I think with a 12-inch move, or 11-inch move in this case, it's. You might be able to. It'll be tricky.
It's going to be over the corners of things, isn't it? Yes. It's just going to be. It's not like I can jump over 30 skeletons. It's like, well, there's 3 sticking out there. They're annoying. I don't care about them. And then with my pile-in and my charge, that means that because the distance it takes to go around a little peninsula or a pinnacle of models is actually huge. You could be moving 4 inches instead of 9 because you just got to hop over a dude, which is a big deal.
And
also like terrain.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've got like a terrain piece that you can use as cover that you can like just ignore, but they can't ignore it, that makes quite a big difference. I think as well, like, you know, when people want to put a screen of like 5 cavalry in a line in front of you to stop you moving past them, you could just go over the top. I think that obviously you've got to be a little bit careful that they don't. If you're playing against them, what you need to do is position it so their full move won't allow them to clear 3 inches the other side of you. So you almost need to be a bit clever of how you place.
That's what I was concerned. Like, you know, the thing that I found was that it was difficult to get across and get out of that 3. Starting 3 inches away from a unit because you have to, then moving 3 inches over, it's your 6 inch. Then you have to clear it with the base because that's where it's difficult. Unless they're in a line. It's good for like hopping over screens, but like if you double up, then you're not going to, you know.
No, I think you're not getting over it. That's what Byron said. It's like moving over the edges to stop you having to walk around. Like,
doing that annoying 3 inch walk around that turns it into like a 12-inch move to get around.
Exactly
that. Like, it makes 2 liberators difference on the side. You know, it's.
I kind of wish these were on like night ovals because you'd be able to do some stuff with like the point of the oval. But is what it is.
Movement shenanigans.
So you've also got the Son of Behemat rule, which they all have this. So if a spell or ability would kill the model without any wounds or mortal wounds being inflicted, the model suffers D6 mortal wounds instead. That stops like your finger in the gash or Archeon's sword just killing you outright. So
that's good. Can't put them in a sword.
No, I mean it still does D6 mortals, so It's still
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 right.
damage.
Till you roll that one.
They cause terror, so subtract 1 from bravery from enemy units within 3.
Cool.
And timber, which is a common rule. So when this model's slain, before removing the model, the players roll off. The winner picks a point in the battlefield within 5. Each unit within 3 suffers D3 mortal wounds unless it's a mega-gargant. So it allows you to fall on top of stuff. So
yeah,
I think,
and then it's got stuff him in the net as well.
Yeah, so this is the kraken-eater only ability, I think.
Oh, is it a kraken-eater only? I wasn't sure if it was a standard one, which is the man-crusher type rule that they've got.
No, I think because he's the only one with a net. So
okay,
I think
so
it's
yeah.
But yeah, go on. That's fine.
It's yeah, I was just to say, it's like I wasn't sure if that was a standard one, but like yeah, no, we can crack on because there's only the 2 specific rules left for the kraken-eater now, isn't
Yeah, so these 2 are kraken-eater specific. So the net is after he piles in, you can pick D3 enemy models within 3, roll a dice, and if the roll is at least double that wound characteristic, it's slain.
Cool.
So
that's good.
It allows
Dragon,
you to
Stardrake bite.
Yeah, and what's good about this, it allows you to pick champions and standard bearers. And,
yeah, for sure.
You know,
Mortec Guard. And stuff.
So if you take the champion out of the Mortec Guard, they won't be able to use their reroll saves. But obviously that's done at the start of the combat, so it's there's a little bit of timing because this is after when you pile in. But it's still good because it allows you to get rid of these things.
Yeah, it also allows you to pull things apart a bit. So if you you're trying to do a lot with this army in not many places with not many bodies, just having an ability where you can be like, well, you're going to have to pile in that way from there against that guy and that way from there against that guy. I'm going to choose those 2 guys or these 3 guys in the middle, whatever it is. A couple of them died. That is just awkward. You could you can really wreck people's day with stuff like that.
Yeah, because you can split them, can't you? And they have to pile in, and then to the closest enemy model, which means then that they just pull the entire unit apart, and then half of it dies.
Yeah, so you've got some techie stuff. People are going to be surrounding you as well, right? If you're on an objective and they want to be getting maximum attacks on this model, you can end up doing some janky stuff, which either is going to protect you in the next round or is going to give them a horrible battle shock or stuff like that. Especially when you've got a model that can. If someone's surrounding you, can deal so much damage in a small location with this model because all of its profiles can come from 1 square inch that happens to be within 2 of the attacks are 3-inch range as well. You can reach out and just murder something if you want, or pick it apart. Or I really like that. I think it's probably going to not come into play often, but when it does, it could be quite a big deal.
I think it's just certain your opponent's going to, because if they've piled into you already, they've already done their piling. And you can just strategically pick out the models that cause it to break the coherency, and then you can hit over the top at something else. Then you're going to kill a load of those models for free, essentially. And those sort of stuff just catches people out sometimes.
Yeah. It's even 2 wound models. You've not got an awful D3 attacks.
On a 4,
and then,
so
yeah.
And then we've got the get off my land, which is probably the most interesting rule. In the book, I think, potentially, which is in your hero phase, if you have any models with this ability within 1 inch of an objective that you control, pick one of those models and say it will kick the objective. You can move the objective up to 2d6 inches to a new position more than 1 away from any models, terrain features, or other objectives. And it says the objective cannot be kicked away more than once in the same phase, so you can't pass it to the other giant and then kick it to the other guy, but what I like,
you can kick it backwards though, right?
You can kick it backwards. You can kick it
over
towards them where you want to go hit them.
Nice.
So you take things like duality. You go, all right. There's 2 objectives. I need to keep my hero next to it. You could kick the objective into their army, follow it up, kill loads of stuff, and still have control of it. So you're not restricted by standing in a place, not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
Or clip it to you've got 1 objective and then kick it if you've got 2 kick it towards the other objective because it can't be within 1 and then you're like, right, okay, so I've now got this castle of the objectives that you're not getting off me. Come and have a go.
And if you've got your entire army on these 2 objectives, they ain't getting it because you've got if you had 3 big guys, that's 90 models. And then if you had 3 little guys, that's 45. So that's 135 models on those objectives.
Yeah,
And you're like,
Go on
pretty
then.
tasty. Being able to send one wave of people forwards and then just boot like football it, pass it back to goalie at the back of the field. To just stand on that while you go over and pin people with your scary dude with the big base is it's super interesting. I love it just because it's like regardless not of whether it's strong or underpowered or overpowered or anything like that. It's just completely different. Yeah.
Is there a knife to the heart style scenario in the new handbook? I can't remember off the top of my
I think
head.
Knife to the Heart's still there because it's
So you basically like look how like non-engaging that game is. If you've got the 3d6 kick, you just go 3d6 forward, move my army forward, 3d6 forward, right, I'm going to fight you on your objectives. Yeah. And then like you auto win if you got more models, right? And there's no one in range. So you just go.
Yeah. So
and you don't have to move it its full value, is it?
No,
up to
you
it?
can move it up to, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just like, cool, I want this to be 2 inches that way because then you're going to have to pile in or you can't pile in or anything like that. It's
you've got 35
flexible.
models. I'll just kick it backwards so you can't get more ring.
Yeah. So
it's really tactical, really, really tactical.
Yeah, and I think the only thing is like a 2d6 move isn't very far, but a 3d6 move is a lot better. So that's why I think that trait kind of comes into its own a little bit. So
again, lots of traits lots of options for each of the traits, which is nice.
So this is like the kraken-eater. Kraken-eaters are 490 points. Because it's a theme with this army, they're all about the same. But I really like the kraken-eater. He's also the mercenary for order, but we'll talk about the mercenary rules at the end when we've wrapped up all the tribes. So that's the kraken-eaters. So cool. Stomper tribes. So
these are the ones I like.
Yeah, I think this list has got a lot of potential. And one of the example lists is based around the Stompers. But essentially, they're all getting stuck in, and that's add 1 to the damage inflicted by each successful attack made by a Man-Crusher-Gargant that targets a unit with 10 or more models, or add 2 instead of 1 to the damage by each successful attack made by Man-Crusher-Gargants if the unit has 20 or more models. So this is your little giants get +1 damage or +2 damage if the units you're fighting have got 10 or 20 or more models.
Pretty big deal. All this guy's attacks are 3-inch reach as well, which I love.
I think the Man-Crushas. So the Stomper's all about having lots of Man-Crushas, the little ones. So if you've your army's led by a Stomper, your general must use the following big shout command abilities, and they can't use any others. So these are essentially replace your generic command abilities. And they only work on the little ones, basically. So you've got the following. So get a move on. It's basically, you can make a run roll for friendly Man-Crusher-Gargant unit that's within 18. You could treat it as being a 6, but that affects every single Man-Crusher-Gargant unit within 18. So
it's a big bubble.
Yeah. So essentially, if you had like 3 units of little ones, 1 command point, they'd all get a 6-inch run. All of them. Then this one I think is probably the one that you'll use a lot, which is grab those rocks and chuck them. Use this command ability to start your shooting phase. When you use the chuck rocks battle trait, you can pick all friendly Man-Crusher-Gargants within 18 to make chuck rocks instead of only 1. So every single Man-Crusher can chuck rocks.
Yeah.
Which allows you to get, say if you've got 9 Man-Crushers, which is the most you can get with the Stomper, allows you to chuck 9 D3 shooting attacks.
Quite a long way as well, given the move value and stuff. That's enough to delete most screens or make a hole or be annoying or even hitting on a 5+ for lookout, to threaten a wizard.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty good. Then you've got you charge. So again, it's reroll charges. It's the same, but it affects every unit with 18. And the same with stop mucking about and hit them. Again, use it in the combat phase. Man-Crusher-Gargants, wholly within 18, reroll 1s to hit. The same with the saves. So again, it affects everyone within 18. And where do you think going is immune to battle shock, which might seem a little bit like, why would you want to be immune to battle shock? But they're bravery 7. So if you've got a unit of 3 giants, they kill one and they've debuffed your bravery by 1. You don't really want the other 2 running away because that's quite a big deal. You can take them as singles, but they cost more. Essentially, they're 100. Man-Crushers are 180, all 3 for 480. So, but
units of 3 are appealing.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's really painful the chance to roll a 6 and lose when you don't have many models. It's like
you don't want to lose
that's
like 24 wounds worth of giant.
That's grim. Or be next to the wrong piece of terrain, or be next to any OBR endless spell, whatever it is.
But I don't think it'll happen that often, but you'd be surprised, like, even just rolling a 6, you're going to be like, ooh, don't want to roll a 6.
So
it's going to be a game changer.
I love big stabbers. It's here behind me. And that is exactly how it feels playing with 4 of them, and I've had it come up in 2 out of my 3 most recent games, and it hurts a lot. Like loads. It's grim, and that's on a tiny model that effectively is worth like 40 points. So
I'm into the traits and artifacts. So
cool.
you essentially have very similar ones that go across multiple things. So you've got the runes characteristic of 40 instead of 35. Then old and gnarly reroll save rolls of 1, so they're the same. Louder than words is add 1 to his attack of his Titanic Boulder Club,
which is
so
cool.
Maximum of 10. The inescapable grip, so when you use his hold body ability, you can reroll the dice, which we'll talk about in a minute. Very shouty.
2 good ones, I think.
Yeah, I think very shouty is probably the best one, which is you start with D3 extra command points. Just obviously, your army's about having lots of little guys and using the command abilities. Getting D3 extra is probably
pretty good.
And eager for the fight, you can attempt to charge this general if it's an 18 of the enemy instead of 12, roll 3d6 instead of 2d6.
Yeah.
So again, that's very good. So I think for me, those 2 are the
standouts.
Artifacts,
the command point particularly.
Really good, these artifacts. I think the first one's my favourite because it's, like I said, defense. Iron Weld Cestus. Reroll save rolls for attacks that target the bearer. In addition, if a reroll saved roll is a 6 and the attack was made by a melee weapon, the attacking unit takes a mortal wound.
There's no downside to that anywhere.
That's just reroll armor saves. Brilliant.
It's not phase based. It's not in melee, but you get a bonus if it is in melee. You guys have an alright save anyway. You want them to stay alive.
Yeah. Good that.
And it's not even failed saves, it's just reroll saves, so you can fish for 6s if you really want to as well.
Yeah. Then pop that last wound off Archeon.
Yeah. Club of the First Oak, hero phase, heal a wound to the bearer. In addition, if he's slain, roll a dice. On a 4-up, he's not slain, and he basically stays alive, and the attack sequence ends. So if they have, if you do loads of damage, he's got 5 wounds after you do 20 wounds to him in one sequence of attacks. Roll a dice 4-up, I'm not dead. I'm still here. 1 wound left. So it's okay, but I'd rather have the rerollable saves, I think. I think I'll be better.
Yeah. I think that makes more sense in the greater picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then, if you were particularly finding Battle Shock an issue, Mantle of the Destroyer, friendly Gargants have a bravery of 10 while they're in 12 of the bearer. In addition, you can reroll charge rolls for Gargants that are in 12 of the bearer.
I mean, the second part of that is a big deal. Having taken that that was seen as in the original Order days, that was seen as such a strong command trait that it got downgraded. Reroll charge rolls within 12. And it's not wholly within either, which is nice when you've got big bases. And he has a big base. So actually that means re-roll every single charge roll in the first 2 rounds of the game if you want.
I think for me what's good about that is if you weren't taking very shouty, you're going to be a little bit command point starved. And this is 2 abilities that cost command points.
That's
immune
really
to
good
battle
point,
shock or reroll charges. So suddenly your command points you can use on aggressive stuff. And you're not ever going to get in that situation where you're like, I need to pass this battle shock because your bravery 10. So if you've got a unit of 3 models, you can never really fail it, to be honest, even if you're -1 bravery.
No, that's a really good point. It's like taking the Iron Jaws traits that let you use their command traits for free, and then suddenly every single point you're spending is on something sexy and exciting, not just I want to move faster or make a charge or that type of stuff.
So and I think as well, if you take the 3d6 charge eager to the fight trait, you've now got a 3d6 rerollable charge on your big boy.
Oh, so that's reliable.
I think that is appealing. So I think that to me, if you were you wanted the reliability and that, not really beholden to command points. You want to use your command points stuff like throwing extra rocks and stuff like that, but you also wanted to guarantee your charges. I think that's a very strong. It's easy to overlook that one, I think.
Yeah, I think him and like a load of little guys, like, you know, maybe one guy and then as many little guys as you can, or two of the guys and then loads of little guys, just makes them super, like a really super aggro, high damage output, like boulder hitting you. It's going to be quite cool.
Yeah,
I think
the list that I've got is him and just loads of little guys. So
yeah.
I mean, games are lost when charges are failed. Like it's not like sexy. It's not like, oh, my guy's Rem 7 and he's like, or you know, that type of thing. But you do lose games by not like how many games have you lost because in the second turn you failed a charge and therefore in your opponent's second turn they got to charge you and attack you before you hit them.
I don't know, Byron. You should know this by now. I'm kidding.
But how many games have your opponents lost?
Every single one. No, I'm kidding. No. I'm joking. It's the type of thing that like it's really easy to like you can look at a game and be like, oh, like I got unlucky with this roll to hit or whatever. But often like it doesn't. We've talked about defensive stuff or melee stuff. It doesn't matter if you're not in combat. And
exactly.
This army's got a tiny bit of a shooting phase. It has 0 of a magic phase, and it's got some objective play. So you want to be getting reliability where you can. So I think that is, like I said, not sexy, but extremely, extremely strong.
Yeah, and we talk about a lot of it in match play is just being consistent and having reliable, consistent things, and that makes it way better. So he's again onto the war scroll, 35 wounds, 4 up save, exactly the same. So he's got slightly different abilities. So obviously he's got the common rules that we've already talked about, which is the Son of Behemat and Terror,
Timber and stuff like that.
But he's got quite a lot of extra stuff. So he's got the Crushing Charge, he does the mortal wounds. He can reroll on the Death Grip attack, which is the same. Yeah. It's a 3-inch reach, 1 attack, freeze 2s, -3 rend, damage d6. It's got the Longshanks rule, so all of that's all the same. But what he does have, he's got 2 different attack profiles. So he's got Jump Up and Down, which is the old favourite from Giant Days of the past. He's movement 10, so he's a little bit slower than the kraken-eater. Now his Titanic, so his Jump Up and Down is 4 attacks, freeze, rend 2, damage 3, d3. You can reroll hit rolls 1 for Jump Up and Down unless you're against a monster. So
kind of cool.
It's okay. But his Titanic Boulder Club is a bit interesting. So it starts off, you get 1 attack per model within 3, plus 4 if you're unhurt, and it goes down to plus 0. You always have 1 attack, and you can never have more than 10 attacks. So you always have between 1 and 10 attacks. If you're unhurt, you're always going to have 5. So it's
which is good.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit getting used to.
In hordes, it's going to be good if you're fully charged up. You're going to put out 10 attacks, aren't you?
It's really good against cavalry or something like that. Like that, your maximum yield from that is where someone's charged you with like up to 6 models, and you've got the maximum possible attacks against the least things because they're pretty high quality attacks.
Yeah, and you do get plus 4 if you're against a monster as well. Well, it's not even if you're against a monster, if a monster is within 3. So it doesn't mean you have to hit the thing that giving you the attacks. It's just it's what's near you.
Yeah.
And his club is pretty good. It's freeze and freeze, rend 2, damage 2. So it's okay. But you imagine like 10 attacks of that. That's up to 20 damage.
One of the cool things about the War Stomper is all of his range attacks are 3 inches as well. I think the kraken-eater's got 1 2-inch attack.
Yeah, the first one's 2, but like that's quite a long way. I know from. I love extra reach on attacks. It just lets you be sneaky.
Yeah, and he's got the other rule he's got is hurled body. So once per combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy model within 3 and roll a dice. Add your hurled body modifier shown on his damage table. So it starts at +2, goes down to a -2. If the roll is at least double that model's wounds characteristic, it's slain, and you can roll another dice. On a 4, you can pick an enemy unit within 12. That unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the wounds of the slain model.
Yeah.
A mouthful. But you imagine like a Kavalos Death Rider You roll a dice, roll a 2, I add 2, 4, that's more than its wounds. Pick it up, kill it, 4 up, that unit's been hit, that takes 3 more wounds. So
handy.
Adds up.
It's going to be situational, but it's just like a free mortal wound if you're picking up a 1 wound model. I think, maybe if you can pull it off.
And I think as well, like if you've managed to like shoot stuff and take it down to like not a lot of wounds left, it could be the last thing to finish something off.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. For 80 points, this guy is 10 points cheaper. So
does that make a difference in any of the lists?
A little bit. Not massively, but it does make a difference. Normally, if you want to run single giants, so Man-Crushas you can run as a free, or buy them 180 points individually. So if you want to run 3 individuals, that's 540 points, which means if you take 3 Mega-Gargants that are 490 points, you're 10 points over. So one of them has to be this guy. So you have to almost like drop a kraken-eater or a gatebreaker to get. So if you run one of each type and 3 individual, it fits. But if you wanted to run like 3 kraken-eaters and 3 individual Gargants, it doesn't. But if you put them as a unit, it does fit. So it's 6 one else double the other already. So and it gives you 50 points left over, ironically, for a command point if you want it, but or a triumph. I've gone straight to the Breaker War Score, so I'll go back to that. But it's the Breaker Tribes, which I really like these guys. I think they're a little bit more inconsistent, but when they hit, I think they hit a lot harder. So you've got the hate-fueled Wreckers battle traits. So you've got breaking down the houses. So you get to add 1 damage for each attack made by a Man-Crusher-Gargant that targets unit that is in a garrison or is wholly or on or within a terrain feature. So if you're on a piece of terrain, you get to add +1 damage for your Man-Crusher-Gargants, which is little guys.
Or if you're alive, you can hit stuff in a KO boat.
If you haven't been shot to death, And in addition, at the end of the combat phase, you can pick 1 terrain feature in 3 of a Man-Crusher-Gargant unit, roll a dice, add the number of models in the unit to the roll. On a 7+, the terrain feature is destroyed. All the scenery rules are replaced with deadly, and the keywords are changed to scenery and rubble. So it allows you to break faction terrain up. And
Obelisk, the OBR Obelisk, that massive piece of terrain's gone.
But it's like, it's got lots of uses. Idnef boats, Sylvaneth Wildwoods.
Sylvaneth players like salty tears because like they don't like their woods anyway, and you should get rid of them.
It's fine. They do play the army for the love, right? It's fine. I think that's quite cool. Very situational. I don't know how many people use garrison rules. Obviously, you've got them with. You've got
with the KO stuff now.
But I don't know if it would work because it says terrain feature. So targets is part of a garrison. It would work. Then you've got Fierce Loathings, which when you pick a Breaker Tribe, you can choose 1 ability from this table, and it applies to all Mega-Gargants and Man-Crusher-Gargants. So basically, it's a +1 to hit rule for your whole army against certain things. So if you take Bossy Pants and Clever Clogs, that's heroes and wizards. Idiots with flags, that's totems and any unit with a commander model. So essentially every unit in the game. Shinyans, which is has a save of 1, 2, 3, or 4 and is not a hero or monster. Crowds, any target unit has got 20 or more models. Wannabes, anything that targets a war machine or a monster. Piggybackers, anything that hits a mount and it is not a monster. So
it's the flags, right, every time.
I think it's flags or Shinyans, It's, for me, it depends what you want, but I think the idiots with flags probably more apt.
Because everyone's got like a champion, right? Every unit's got like a unit champion. unless it's like like a cav unit, like a fulminator or something. But yeah, most things. I think the flags one sticks out to me to be like, right, okay, because it's command models, right? So even stuff like trying to think of one that's just got a unit champion in it, like a tree revenant unit.
There's loads of it, yeah. Shadow warriors, whatever. Yeah.
Just a unit champion, right? So
it might mean that you might be less reluctant to kill that model with one of your special grip attacks. So
yeah, I was just going to say, bit of an awkward combo there.
It depends. Like I think it's they're all different. I think if you're playing into a match play event, you need to take the one that's going to be effective in the most games, in the most situations. So I think it's probably idiots with flags, but
it's got to be right. If you're looking at winning the game, which is done on objectives, like by definition, then clearing people off those objectives when it doesn't matter if someone's got Archeon. Archeon's one model, your one model is 20. Obviously, that doesn't matter if you're dead, but generally speaking, I think that's how I'd be approaching it.
Just have to be careful in the mirror match. Whoops.
Or if you play your mate at home all the time, you can like factor it in. It's like your cav army dude with his like super like high armor saves. You're like, right, well, I'm just gonna take that all the time then.
Hello, Denigra.
I think the Shinians is quite good because I wish it didn't have that not a hero or monster on there. Otherwise, I would take that probably every time.
But that's everything then in the game, edit apart from a witch off. Like,
well, not everything's got a 4-up save, but most things.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
I remember when 4-up saves were special.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think that one, it doesn't need the hero or
back in the day,
particularly.
Yeah. So, in terms of command traits, then again, you've got the monstrously tough, so 40 wins to the 35. Old and gnarly reroll 1s. Louder than words, which actually add 2 to its flail attacks, which is actually pretty good considering what the flail.
Reach 3.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is extremely bitter, so you can choose to roll for 2 abilities on the table or pick.
Okay.
But only one of them affects your general. So it's the general will get 2, your army gets 1. So you could take that if you fought well, get +1 to hit against monsters and heroes, and and the army has totems, so then I get best of both. Then you've got Smasher, which is when you use its Smash Down ability, you can reroll the dice. So that's the Mega-Gargant as a way to destroy terrain as well. Sees Red, so while it's within 9 of a terrain feature that can have a garrison, when you look a value in his damage table, treat it as if they've suffered 0 wounds.
Okay.
So again, I go to a lot of tournaments and most people never actually mention the word garrison with terrain. So it depends. If you know there's set terrain and there's like a tower and it's a garrison thing.
Just send your TO a message and saying I'm considering taking this army. They'll be happy to specify what they're doing with it.
So because like I know a lot of time people just plonk stuff down and
models
roll,
on it,
and that's it. And then they just walk over it. But if it's like a building, it should really be a garrison piece of terrain. So,
it's just one of those things you have to clarify, I think, at the start of the game and be like, right, okay, so that terrain needs to be garrisoned. You can't just put a guy on the roof unless it can fly.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think if I was going to a UK matched play tournament, knowing how they run, I wouldn't really consider that one. I think the +2 attacks for the flail is probably the go-to on that.
Yeah, like looking at it, I'm thinking the same with the flail because that hits like
it's mega. So then you've got the artifacts. You've got 3. So you've got the enchanted portcullis, which gives you a death save.
Cool.
So
ignore a mortal wound or a wound on a 6.
Way more relevant when you've got that many chances to roll a wound, right? If your guy's got 12 wounds, you might not see that. When you've got 35, like you'd be very unlucky to not see a few 6s.
I think if you double that up with the 40 wounds, you're essentially like having 48 wounds. I know that sounds a bit silly, but it kind of works out that way.
That's exactly what I did when I looked at it.
Yeah. So I do think it's quite a good one because it just is. It's like having it's again defense over offense, right? But this next one, the Great Wrecker. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by his Fort Crusher Flail is a 6, it does a mortal wound in addition. And also, when you use his Smash Down ability, you can add 1 to the dice roll. So it kind of makes your terrain destruction more reliable and gives you some mortal wound poke as well.
In addition, though, that's the big word. In addition, that I think makes it really sing to me. Like,
I think quite a lot of attacks that are reach 3.
Yeah,
like it's really very, very solid. It's more liability.
Yeah. The problem is you don't have a lot of attacks. Well, I say that you've got 10 attacks with the weapon, but 12 attacks if you're using the louder than words. So you
that's
get
the thing.
2.
You go louder than words. Great wrecker, and then he's a beat stick. Yeah.
And then the King's Slaughter Cowl, reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by the bearer that targets a hero. In addition, reroll all wound rolls for attacks made by the bearer that target a general. So it's okay. I mean,
it's okay.
Buffing wound rolls is always a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's quite rare, and you do wound on a 3, so like that's getting another chance at that is pretty liable, really.
It's I think the 1 and 2 for me. I think, and the cowl, like third place. Yeah,
I think so. So again, like into this guy's a little bit quicker. He's movement 12, cool. 35 wounds. Again, same 4-up save, same. He's got a ranged attack. So the range decreases as he gets hurt, but it's 1 dice, freeze 2s, rend 3, damage 4. Hold boulder, that's pretty good. A nice little range poke. Again, he's got the stomp, which is 2 attacks, freeze, rend 2, damage D3. He's got the death grip, 1 attack, freeze 2s, rend 3, damage D6. And the flail, which is range 3, 10 attacks, which gets less, 4s and 3s, rend 3, damage 3. So
it's 12 attacks because you're always taking louder than words.
Yeah. And I think if you're hitting like a unit and you've got +1 to hit against it, you'll freeze, rend 3, damage 3 with 12 attacks. Absolutely wreck a unit. It's so much damage. I mean, it's hitting on a 4, which is the downside of this guy, but if you hit, it's gonna really upset someone.
Yeah.
Again, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for its stomp if you're against a monster. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for the death grip if it's not against a monster. You do mortal wounds on the charge. You've got the long shanks, Sons of Behemat, terror, timber rule, and the special rule he has is smash down. So you can add 1 to the damage inflicted by each successful attack made by this model that targets a unit that's part of a garrison wholly on or within a terrain feature. So if they're in terrain, that's now a damage 4 weapon.
A bit awkward, isn't it? Because people do that to get their save. So it's you wouldn't be doing that
against these guys. It's going to be a bit weird because you're going to be like running off the terrain. Like But what would be quite nice, you could almost like stand your guy in the middle of the terrain and go, "Come get me."
Yeah.
Especially if you've used the kraken-eater to kick the objective into the terrain that you want to stand.
Good point. I love that.
So, I think as well, then you've got at the end of the combat phase, pick 1 terrain feature with 3 of this model, roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than smash down value on his damage table, so it gets worse as he gets hurt, but it starts on a 2+, you just destroy this terrain. So 2+ to destroy an obelisk,
7 left wildwood.
It's just
Pete 7 for the fire slayers.
Yeah, I mean, getting to it's going to be the problem, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you can get to it, then it's. I mean, it is the end of the combat phase, so with pile-ins and a 3-inch from it, you could do it. So, but it's stuff like the Corn Altar is massive if they're running the prayers and stuff like that,
or the Fane for Slanesh and stuff.
Loon Shrine.
Oh
not going into Battle Shock anymore.
Oh my god, yeah.
So,
command models everywhere, +1 damage everywhere.
So
really
I think it's
cool.
It's got a lot of potential to catch people out. I think this ability.
And this guy's the Death Mercenary as well, isn't he?
Yes.
And the War Stomper was the Chaos Mercenary.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I actually think this guy goes quite nicely in a Nighthaunt army as a mercenary, but I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. Because you're like excited about that one, aren't you? I know you've been talking. Me and you were chatting when I went for a walk the other day. Right?
I just think the Nighthaunt don't have access to a big monster. Like you can't have a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon or anything like that. So it's like, well, now I could put a giant in. It's kind of like
get this guy, put like a big sheet on him, make him look like a big giant, a big ghost.
Just dip him in Ilex Oxide so you don't have to paint him properly.
Ghost giant,
Ghost giant. No, he's like a spirit giant. Don't do that, people.
And then do his cowl like a Nighthaunt. So do it like dark at the top, go down to into my
exactly.
darkness.
And it's
Just chop off his legs and just have like a Casper tail coming from the ground.
Yeah, so you could do that. You could just literally just put a pin up his bum and don't put his legs on. And he could
So,
let it
guys,
flow and go.
if you're watching the stream and you watched it and you watched like the YouTube video, you'll notice Russ has built the Gatebreaker model because he thinks that's the best one.
I like it. It's my favourite one, and I play Death.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to be building all of them at some point, but to be honest, because I want to paint it for the weekend as well, I looked at the other two and how much more there is to paint on them, and he's the simpler one. So, and I'm probably going to two of him. So
we've got a disappearing Byron now, haven't we? I think as well.
Yeah, we have just about. Having played with the Rogue Idol recently, it does make a big difference having some hefty thing that attracts a load of attention. And I guess with Nighthaunt, you're not particularly bothered by the fact that like you've got loads of bodies everywhere that are cheap. Yeah. So the fact that he only counts as one in that allegiance isn't going to be as much of a
no. And because his reach, you can surround him in ghosts, and he can just smack over the top, and he can still break faction terrain because he's still got the Lawless War Scroll.
Yeah.
And you've noticed we've not mentioned any that are special for destruction as well. So because they all go in destruction.
Yep. So
as Mercenaries, so Byron, you could have your Gatebreaker in your instead of a Rogue Idol.
Both? Instead.
Yeah. Instead. I forgot to have a Rogue Idol, but yeah. It's I don't know if you've got time quickly to go through the Man-Crusher-Gargant War Scroll for the break that I want to shoot off. So
cool.
The Man-Crusher-Gargants, movement 8, 12 wounds, 5 up save, bravery 7. Yep. Got a headbutt, 1 attack, 4's freeze, rend 3, damage 4, goes down as they get hurt. Massive club, 3-inch reach, 10 attack, freeze, rend 1, damage 1.
So War Stomper with that is mental when you think about it, especially if you go to a 20-man unit. 10 attacks, 3 damage.
Yeah, it's if the damage is the bonus, it makes a massive thing. Mighty kick, 2-inch range, 1 attack, freeze, rend 2, damage D3. They've got a keep up rule, so if the unit's within 12 of a Mega-Gargant, at the start of the charge phase, it can attempt to charge even if it ran. So you can run and charge with them. So stomping charge. This is probably the good thing about these guys. When the model from this unit makes a charge move, pick one enemy unit within 1 inch and roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than the stomping charge value, so it starts at a 2, goes up to a 6 as they get hurt, then the unit takes D3 mortal wounds. If the unit has more than one model, then you basically don't allocate the wounds until they've all finished their charge. If you charge 3, you could do 3D3 mortal wounds on or 2 up for each guy if they're hurt. So not bad. I mean, it's all these sort of little pokes of mortal wounds and range attacks all really add up.
Or stuff them in bags, which I guess you're about to come to. Although, like, you've got multiple ways to hurt things within 3, slightly further than 3, shooting, whatever.
And with the stuff in the bag is basically you roll it. It's a bit cut off here on the pictures. I apologise for that, but basically you roll a dice after you've piled in, and for a model, if you roll at least double their wounds, it's dead. So you can just kill like small infantry and stuff like that. And then they've got the timber rule, which is again they fall over and do D3 mortal wounds. So basically, it's just like they fall over as well. So it's sort of akin to the old rules. But
I think one thing that people should really be bearing in mind that wouldn't be immediately obvious with all of these little pokey abilities is taking models out of range, so people aren't within range for something. So a lot of the time, people leave like a little tailback for inspiring presence or some other ability, or all models, all units within 12 of this guy are going to get +1 hit or whatever. If you get to pick something or something like that, you could, especially if you've got multiple people in the unit, if it is 3 of those, you could take away 3 models from someone's unit, and that's potentially like 2 inches of range one way or the other. So do be aware when your opponent's using what they're using, saying what they've got, like they've got their tokens down, check the range, get your ruler out, measure it, because being able to stop someone from being immune to battle shock is like, you're not going to be able to win with this army unless you play it quite well, I don't think. In certain scenarios, at least in stuff like that, it's going to make an absolutely massive difference.
I think the macro management of sort of micromanagement of the abilities and stuff like that, and is kind of way more important than it probably looks. And they might look like a bit of a push it forward, drink beer, and shout and have a laugh, but actually they've got a lot of technical nuance abilities like moving objectives around, destroying scenery, picking individual models out of units that, if applied correctly, I think will cause some real upset. So I would say that actually the army is probably better than what people think originally. I mean, I know there's a lot of people bemoaning that they're not very good at all. They're not. I've heard someone say they're not competitive, whatever that means. I can assure you that they definitely can compete.
Come up in the wrong scenario, and you're going to get your going to get your teeth smashed.
In some missions, they're obscene. They just feel obscene because like they just are super strong. Just quick before we take a break, then the points. So Man-Crushas, we've touched on the points, but basically 490 or 480 for the big guys if it's a war Stomper. Little guys 180 each or 480 for free. And the important bit here is that they're all behemoths, but the Mega-Gargants in Behemat become battle line. And if you take a max unit, it counts as all three of your battle line choices.
Yeah, which is brilliant. So you take a unit of 3 and it's just...
Yeah. And you probably want to, if you're going to take 3 big guys and a little unit of 3, you probably want to make them a unit to make the most out of your Hold Rocks ability. There is some argument to having individual ones. I think we'll get onto that when we talk about the list. But that's essentially everything in the book. You know, there's no War Scroll battalions.
No.
You know, there's no faction terrain. There's only 4 War Scrolls, but you can see the length of time we've talked about all the different options and abilities and combos and how each tribe is very different. I think you can see that actually there's a lot of scope in the book for different list design.
For sure. I mean, once you've got your dudes as well, you've got your dudes, you just change what they're wearing, what command you're using, that type of stuff, and then you've got like 8 different lists or something, or different styles or that type of thing. All out aggro, more defensive, techie, whatever.
I can't actually remember the exact number of lists there are available, but we did
think it's 12.
Work out exactly how many lists that you could have. So
someone will put in the comment below, they'll math it all out and tell us.
That we're wrong, yeah.
It'll be like, is it like 58 or something?
well, actually,
if you take the different artifact combos, there's a lot more than 12. But, you know. Right. Anyway, I think we'll take a quick break. Come back. I've got some example army lists to go through, and we'll say goodbye to Byron. So thanks very much for joining us for this first half.
I'm missing them. I'll have to watch it back myself.
You'll have to watch it back yourself. So yeah, thanks for watching. We're back after the break.
Okay.
We are back from the break. So let's talk about the Mega-Gargant as Mercenaries.
Cool.
So effectively, these are match play legal. So for pitch battles, so you can include 1 Mega-Gargant Mercenary, even if it costs more points than you have to spend on allied or mercenary units. And you can only include 1 Mega-Gargant Mercenary unit. Effectively, you get 1 giant.
Which is cool.
If you do take 1, you have the rule Disruptive Presence, which means that at the start of your hero phase in the first battle round, you do not receive a command point. So, depending on your army, that might be a bit of a deal breaker. It really does depend. If you're an army that doesn't really care too much, it probably might be worth a sacrifice.
OBR? You don't care about command points, right?
No, you don't care. I think you care about a 490 point price tag, but
that's like you're never going to fit
anything
else
I'll
in.
have Catacross, but but it's definitely an option. It does. So you get a special rule when you take a certain one. So the kraken-eater goes in order, or destruction. Okay, if you take him, then he's got a rule called Dead Cunning, which allows you at the start of the combat phase to say that you'll be cunning, and if you do, he fights at the end, but you can reroll hit rolls with that model.
That's kind of cool, if he's alive.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll survive long enough to hit
Not a lot compared to 35 wounds in a turn.
No, exactly. And I think if you're clearing something that you just is like, you're not bothered about it hitting you, like, is 5 cavalry or 10 guys, you're like, well, yeah, you can hit me for a bit. I just need to definitely make sure I kill you and I don't fluff my rolls.
Yeah.
Then you've got the War Stomper, which is again destruction and chaos. Then he's got Shake the Earth, so you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for jump up and down. In addition, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units that are within 6 of this model if this model made any jump up and down attacks earlier in the phase. So I actually think that's quite good.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually really quite handy, because essentially you just make sure you fight with him first, and then everything with his 6 gets him. He's quite a big base, gets -1, right? So
yeah. And so it's not even wholly within, it's just within 6. So it's like a Mongol, basically. So and also getting to reroll 1s to hit just means you're a bit more reliable. So I actually think that he's pretty decent as a mercenary.
Yeah.
Then for the grievous halitosis for the gatebreaker, who's for death and destruction. At the end of the combat phase, pick an enemy unit within 3, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit. For each 6, they take a mortal wound. So it's okay. I mean, it's it's an extra bit of damage if you get it. I think as a mercenary, and touched on it earlier, that Nighthaunt, because Nighthaunt, they don't have access to a big monster. They just don't have anything like that. If you count the Black Coach, then you're dreaming. But you can say that it's got a big base, but that's about all. And also, they have access to lots of cheap bodies.
Yeah, plus they've had like a load of reduction, haven't they, with the handbook and stuff. So, you're finding you've got a little bit more points, and you've got access to the chain rasps and stuff like that for the bodies.
280 points for 40 chain rasps. Put him in a bubble around the guy. You can't actually hit the Gargant. He just sits in the middle, swinging his gatebreaker thing, and it gives you the option to break terrain. It gives you an answer to things like the obelisk, Idenef boats, moon shrines. So I think if you put that on an objective, and one of the key points, you don't get the allegiance ability. Yeah. So if you're playing these as mercenaries, they're only going to count as 1 model for objective capture.
Yeah, that's innate to the Sons of Behemat battle tome, isn't it? Like you have to be Sons of Behemat to get the extra rule for that.
You essentially only get what's on the War Scroll, but the War Scroll's still pretty good. Is it 490 points good? I don't think so. I think if you're playing any other army, you've got better options generally. Yeah. Like, if you're playing Legion of the Gash, you've got Vampire the Zombie Dragon, and he's cheaper. If you're playing Iron Jaws, you've got more Crushes, you've got Rogue Idols.
Ogres, you got Stonehorns.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's worth doing that.
No, not competitively, I don't think. I mean, like I said, it'd be interesting to see how it plans out in the Nighthaunt army that you're talking about. I think that might be quite cool. Again, though, it's a big investment in for something that's like not actually that difficult to kill without the the buffs that you're going to get from the allegiances and the artifacts. Like a 4-up save with 35 wounds. You're gonna get it banded quite quickly if you can reach out and touch it with some shooting attacks or some magic and stuff. It's gonna drop quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think for essentially you've got some options with your mercenaries, and I think that it'll be a fun thing to try out for some armies.
Yeah, I think the chaos one's quite
sure that there'll be many armies that want to use it.
No, I think it's more for people. People are going to be more like down the route of. I think you either take the army as a whole and play around it as a whole, or you take, or if you use it to plug a gap, like you're saying with the Nighthaunt, with the Gatebreaker. I'm trying to think of like another army that would actually benefit from it, and it's like the only one that I can really think of is the one that you pointed out, which is Nighthaunt. I don't know if there's any other armies out there that you're like, well, actually, you know what this really needs? It really needs high damage.
Gloomspike Gits, I think, might benefit because you've got lots of cheap bodies. You don't have access to the Rogue Idol anymore, so buy a giant or proxy. And then I think maybe from a chaos point of view, Brayherd might want to use one.
Because they ultimately pay out more damage than like the Cygor and stuff like that, right? And I think I'm sort of looking at those weaker books that
might end of the day, it's like it's a much difference if you take one or not. But I think as long as you've got a way to protect it and use its reach, and it's people who lack that combat damage, that combat punch, that rend. And I think, like you say, the War Stomp is actually pretty good because of the -1 to hit thing. So in a Chaos Allegiance, I mean, even Skaven, you might be tempted. I mean, I think there's a lot of good options with Vermin Lords and things like that. But
that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, where do those points come from unless you're taking like a primarily cheap crap like infantry blobs, because that is your Thanquol, that is your Vermin Lord, that is your Stardrake, that is your whatever the big
and
monster
change usually.
So, it's like essentially it's near enough a quarter of your army for this model, and if you've not got the bodies to like work around it, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. I'd love to see him on the table, and maybe I'm missing a trick, but I'm not sure that they're going to be setting the world on fire as mercenaries. But I'm sure that like someone out there, like some match play savant like Darren Watson or something, is going to be like, if I do this, and this, then it's
Yeah, I'm sure that there'll be lists out there with it in. Is it the most effective thing? Yeah. Don't know.
Like Be'lakor, a giant, like a bin bag full of like Chaos Marauders and Arcanists. It's going to be
but I think I think the War Stomper is quite cool because the -1 to hit. The kraken-eater, again, you can still kick the objectives because that's on his War Scroll.
War Scroll, yes, so, interesting. Yeah.
I don't know whether like IDNF players can drop some eels to have one. I don't know if they care about that or not.
That'd be really good. Drop some eels, put a giant in. No.
Why wouldn't you? You could put an aspect to the sea.
Yeah.
Is it better? I don't know.
Well, it fits. It's thematic, right?
Yeah.
You could
aspect to the sea and a kraken.
Yeah, put like the boat on the back.
And then 3 that's 10 guys on him. It's a great army.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's probably better than the turtle, other than the fact that the
turtle's cool, man. It looks cute. I like his little snappy jaw. It's good. Because I always underestimate the turtle till you fight it, then you end up taking your model off, and you're like, "What? It's rubbish." No, it's not. It's still good. It's just not.
It's just like eels are better. We're off on a tangent.
Eels are better. Have you heard it here first? You've watched 2 hours of giant content to get eels are better. No, I'm just kidding. I think, definitely give it a go. Like, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Try it out. I mean, it'd be cool. Yeah, tell us we're wrong. I always like to be told I'm wrong.
I think some armies, I definitely think Nighthaunt that they'll do. I think Brayherd maybe potentially be like them as well.
I think it dependent on your Chaos army as well, like Slaves to Darkness. Like, depends what you're taking.
It's just points, there, if you're taking. That's a lot of points. It's just the price tag. If they were 100 points cheaper, definitely.
They'd be in every list then, wouldn't they? Like, everyone would be like, "Hey, 100 points
I don't think
cheaper."
I don't think they would. Okay. I'm just gonna wave the banner, like drop them all by 100 points so I could get a 4th one in. No, kidding.
Yeah, why not, eh?
Yeah, why not? That's how it works, right?
I think so.
No. Right, so let's talk about some example army lists then that I've decided to...
Excuse the phone, guys, because Russ has sent me these army lists on like my phone, so you get to see me scroll through my phone. I'm not Tindering. I'm actually looking at the army lists.
Swipe right for Mega-Gargant. So the first list I put together was a Breaker Tribe. So obviously, like I asked in the playtest chat what people were playing with, and I've stolen this off someone who remained nameless, and they'll be upset with me.
Is this the one that I was told we're not allowed to? It's like, "Don't steal my army list, bitch," was the words that he said. Okay, right.
Well, I don't know if it is because he put a couple lists in, but this is.
They're all his,
yeah. So this is the Gatebreaker Tribe. So Breaker Tribe.
Cool.
So obviously the general is a Gatebreaker Mega-Gargant. I went with Louder Than Words, which gives him +2 attacks, and I gave him the Enchanted Portcullis, which is a bit weird. It's half defense, half offense, rather than doubling up on defense or doubling up on offense. I've gone down the middle.
I'm trying to think what the colours, the portcullis
6 up death save.
Okay,
so
cool.
I've basically gone for the save and the +2 attacks rather than the +2 attacks and the mortal wounds. Yeah. Well, he didn't tell the artifacts. He just put these 5 war scrolls.
So Okay.
I think his.
But there's
list,
only so many lists. It can't be like that. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you stole the list of like the 4 that are available.
Yeah.
And then what I've done is I've put in a Gatebreaker Mega-Gargant number 2.
Cool.
And then a kraken-eater to kick the objectives around.
Yeah.
And 3 Man-Crushas in a unit, and it's 1950. You could add a command point, but I don't see the point. I'd rather have a triumph.
It's that's real fighty as well. Like when you think about the damage output from both of those Gatebreakers.
Yeah, and actually the shooting's not so bad because you've got a shooting attack on both the Gatebreakers, the kraken-eater and the Man-Crushas can do the shooting ability.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Like, I think you need to play some games whether or not you'll miss the War Stomper, but I think unless you're playing the Stomper tribe, I just don't see, or you want to split the Man-Crushas up, I don't think you need to take him.
Yeah, that's the thing that, like, looking at it and like reading through the book and stuff is, I think that again, we'll touch on this, is that I think you either go all in on War Stomper or you kind of don't really go near the War Stomper, in my opinion. Like, that's kind of how I looked at it. I
mean, this was a list that I like the Gatebreaker. I like the new models. I want to use the new models. I want to use loads of little new ones, the old ones. I like the fact it's 1950, so you're giving yourself a chance at a triumph, and you've got the option to stick in a command point. I actually think the triumph's better, so I'd rather play for the triumph. But simple, not a lot to really talk about. I mean, you can't have allies, you can't really do much else with it. So, do you take double kraken, or I normally do take double kraken.
That's you. Yeah.
maybe I need to do a double kraken list because that makes sense, right? Yeah, and I could say, what drink have you got? And I could just be like, double kraken and gate breaking.
My head's gone blank. What's the name of the guy that always is like the drinking monster? Paul.
Paul Haley.
Paul Haley, yeah, like he's the double kraken, any. So like,
he's the every bottle of beer in Behind Elements bar Haley, not the kraken. But yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I am tempted to run a double kraken-eater army, so I can. Every time they say what drink do you want, I'll just point in my two kraken-eaters.
Yeah.
Anyway,
double kraken.
Every time one dies, it's a shot of kraken. So. So
we digress.
Yeah. Then
on to the next one.
The Taker tribe. This one's a little bit different. So I've basically gone for double Kraken. So the Kraken general. So he's got extremely intimidating, which must want to hit. Then the Kraken skin sandals to increase his attack ability of his.
And that's the damage 3.
Yeah,
kicky.
Damage 3, extra attack, extra Ren. So it's Ren free, attacks and damage free. Cool. Another Kraken-eater to give you maximum football. Because dedicated to Darren Watson. Football. And then 3 Man-Crushas in a unit. And then 3 individual Man-Crushas comes to 2,000 on the nose. So
which is...
This allows you to have... Because the individual Man-Crushas count as 15 models for objectives.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit more board presence. So
that's quite a strong objective game there when you think about it. Like, how it would play with the 15 scoring, like, effective wounds on the 3 individuals, then like the 45 in the unit of 3, plus then the 30s in the double Kraken. I think that is deceptively very, very good at objective play.
Yeah, and that was the design of it, to be honest. It is there is, again, there's play in the list. You could put those 3 into another unit of 3, but I like the fact you've got individuals, because the good thing about having 3 individual giants, if they're in one combat, they've got to split their attacks. Whereas if you're a unit of giants, you just hit the unit and all the wounds cascade over. So I'd rather have 3 individual ones that are wounded a little bit each than 1 dead one, if that makes sense. So it allows you to charge 3 different things, and it allows you to split up on 3 different places, and they're all battle line. So in stuff like where you can burn objectives like Scorched Earth, it's better. And the fact that they count as 15 each.
Yeah. Singles mean that you can't get split up when you're piling in, because there's only one model, right? So you need to pile into the closest model.
Whereas Battle Shock.
Yeah, unit 3, you can be sort of like pinned if someone's like savvy and puts like units to stop you piling in. Whereas a 1 can just be like, well, that's the closest model. I'm just going to like handbrake turn around the side a little bit. Yeah. Whereas you wouldn't be able to do that with the 3. So.
Yeah, so again, it'll take some play. I don't know if it's that good, but I think having 2 models that can move objectives, 3 individual giants and 1 unit to take advantage of the boulder throw, I think it's okay.
The double Kraken football Darren Watson list, quite good.
Double Kraken football. Then probably I think probably the strongest list is the
but this is the one that I
Stomper
love. This is the one that like me and you spoke about on the phone, wasn't it? When I was like I was out and about, and it was just like it's so aggressive. I love it.
Yeah, and we talked about the artifacts, and I've gone for the defense command point one, but you could easily change that to the 3d6 charge, reroll charges, and the battle shock. So this is a War Stomper Mega-Gargant, which has got the very shouty D3 command points, the rerollable armor save, and do mortal wounds on a 6 in combat. 2 units of 3 Man-Crushas, because obviously you want to be the Man-Crusher units get buffed significantly, and then 3 individual Man-Crushers. So you could combine those into a unit, but I actually think it's better to be individual. So you've
for the same reason we spoke about. Yeah.
So this is 9 old giants and 1 big guy. It's 1980, so you've got a chance at a triumph. You don't need to buy a command point because you're probably get D3 anyway. You could put the 3 into a unit and then buy a command point because you save 60 points. And then you end up being a 30 point less army. But I just like the idea of having individual giants. I just think it gives you a bit more flexibility around the objective play.
Yeah, no, I think so. And it's also with the 3s, you can sort of like they're easier to sort of like positions. Particularly, I imagine this will be the your War Stomper in the middle, everything else within 18 to take full advantage of the shooting, the re-rolling charges, obviously. And the fact that your giants can run and charge anyway. There's so many Man-Crushers. It's very, very aggressive.
I almost feel like you have like your 3 individuals at the front, Hayes at the back, in the middle, the 2 3s either side of him. And then what you'd do is you'd move up and chuck rocks, and then be like, okay, you come at me, and then if they all don't come at you, you can just charge across very, very aggressively.
Lots of mortal wounds on the impacts of the charge if you get the entire army charging, right? Plus if you're putting them into big units, like those 2 units of 3 into like a big unit of like 40 guys, that unit's dead.
It's just the damage. 40 Mortec Guard, the damage free reach to their attacks, just go in and just absolutely ruin them. I think anyone who plays a lot of hordes, if you play an army that's got a lot, I think if you had this army like a year and a half ago, when there was all these like 30 Grimghast, 40 Chain Rasp, and 3 units of 30 Witch Elves, and all this stuff, you'd just be like oh yes, please.
20 Moonclan Glops on the table. You'd just be like, just take them off. It is very, very good. And and even if you play against like low model count armies like Stormcast and stuff like that, just the volume of attacks. So when you think about each giant's got 10 attacks, if it's like not been knocked down a band, you're going to put wounds through and you're going to cause problems. I honestly think like that if you, I'm sure the internet will tell me wrong, but like I wouldn't want to play this with my Lumineth army.
No.
Just the amount of damage that it puts out.
Out of all the army lists, this is the one that makes me. I think this is the one that I think, from a pure aggressive damage output point of view, this is the scariest.
Yeah. It's I played against this in playtesting this list with Fire Slayers, and it tabled me, which was very, very like surprising. Obviously with the even with the Hermdar, strike first command ability, it was just the damage output that it can put through. All you need to do is just absolutely mental. Like the 3 damage, you're like, oh right, Jesus.
Yeah, it's
really good.
It's solid.
It's exciting. It's the only downside to it is it's the older models, but like I like seeing how cool they are to convert. If you're like a converter and you want to like really sort of spice up those old giant models, then it'll be really cool.
There's a really good back when there was the giant formation, I think in one of the handbooks, I think it was the Son of Behemat.
Sons of Behemat,
it's the Son of Behemat formation. There's a really good article, and I can't remember the guy's name, but it's on Warhammer Community. If you search for Behemat, it will come up, and he's got like a billion.
I think he is the Son of Behemat. Is his actual Twitter name? Because he works for the Warcom team, doesn't he?
And he's got tons of converted giants. So loads of ideas using like the Gloomspite bits off the Troggoth. You know, just like loads of green stuff work, repositional work, different weapons. I'd be tempted to use like Bloodthirster axes or something like that to, if you were going down the Chaos War Stomper route, to make them look a little bit more chaosy, because you get like the Chaos head with the horns and stuff, and they're quite easy to green stuff. You could almost do like a corn.
It is actually I've just put it on my phone now. It's at Son of Behemat on Twitter, and he's got loads of really cool conversions where he's like green stuffed a beard onto like the standard giant kit and move the arm. And he's got like a guy hanging upside down with this beard and stuff. It's really cool.
And I think some of the leftovers from the big kit can go on the little guys quite comfortably. Like some of the clubs, and you can use you could either use it as like a peg leg, or you've even got like the stuff like the net and stuff like that could easily be put on. And especially the War Stomper's got a lot of like shields and armor plates that goes on his arms and that, and they could just be stuck on the other giants to make them more Age of Sigmar.
If you've got the skull leftover bits from the Citadel base in skull kit, it's not going to take a lot to stick that on the end of like one of the clubs to make him look a bit more interesting, or even on his head as like a helmet, like a mask. So you get that massive skull in the skull. The Citadel Skulls box that everyone should own. Like the main boss from Mortal Kombat 2, I can't think of his name. Is it Shere Khan? Not like something like that. Like, and he's got Shokan, and he's got like that skull face, so that would be quite cool.
Or Skeletor, but my hood and
or Skeletor, or Skeletor. Shere Khan's a tiger from the Jungle Book. I don't know where I got that from.
No, I know what you mean. I think, I know Shang Tsung was the second,
and then
bus,
Goro
and then
was we're completely off tangent now. But Mortal Kombat 2 bad guy, super buff.
I know what you mean.
Skull face.
I know what he looks like. We're gonna get told in the comment below.
Tell us
the Mortal Kombat lore in the comment below. What are we doing?
I know. Right.
So, I think like really precursor this a little bit with. If you've been on social medias or seen some of the reaction, there's a lot of people out there that are going, "It's a fun army. It's a joke army. It's not a serious army." I just think you're wrong. Like it is a fun army. But it can still win games. It's not a joke army. I'd say that. I think there'll be people who play this for the first time that just get absolutely overwhelmed by how much damage and all these things like throwing a rock, picking up a guy, killing the banner, breaking your coherency, doing mortals on the charge. It all catches you out. It's all damage you're not accounting for.
Yeah, massively. And it's even like little things like, like that one time that you pip your damage 4 hero with the Gatebreaker hurling a boulder and stuff like that, and all the other little bits that come with it. And the first time a Gatebreaker goes in fully like revved up with his 12 attacks and hits and wounds all of them, you're going to be like...
The first time you stand on the terrain feature to get your +1 save. And you go, what did I do that for? And you go, well, I don't know, you won't do that again, will you?
I know.
So
no, it's one like I agree with you 100%. I think that there is a element of beer and pretzels to the army where if you just want to like push it forward and 3 models, push it around, have games over really quickly, that's cool. You can totally do that. But I think that there's enough nuance to it that will allow you to, if you understand Age of Sigmar, you figure out you're very conscientious about the way you pile in, where you tag units and stuff like that. You can really punish bad play by your opponent, and you can make things happen because of the damage output. And it's also the objective scoring is massive.
I think you'll win games because they fail to do the last wound that means you capture the objective for the next return.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that, and like you say, what appeals to me is I like the gaming tactical element of the game. I like that.
Yeah.
And this army doesn't feel like I'm not going to have choices to make. It feels like there's lots of little things and tricks I can do, which are very specialised, and they're very to do with micromanagement, particularly on pile-ins and attack selection and order and sequencing, which I kind of like. So it does appeal to me, and I think that as an army, it'll be fairly strong. And I don't think it's. I mean, and this is the thing that kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. There was a lot of people going, "Is it competitive?" It's like, well, being competitive just means you could compete. It doesn't mean you're going to win.
Right.
So I definitely think it can compete, and nobody wants a book to come out that just dominates. We don't want Slaanesh again, do we? That's the point. Like,
yeah.
So,
I mean, I think with good play, a bit of luck in the matchup process, you're going to 4-1, maybe even 5-5 if you get lucky. I think there's going to be a couple of armies that you're going to need to avoid. I think maybe maybe a tournament win, like a 5 win. It might be a bit beyond you, but I do think 4-1, 3-2 with solid play.
And I think
which I think is fair.
Well, most armies are like that, to be honest, unless you get the red with the green. I just think there are some matchups that it's just going to make a mockery. Like in a certain scenario against a certain army, they're just going to be like, just like lol face, really.
Do you want to play like, and then. But or you play, and then like you'll come up against a gun line, and it'll be like, okay,
and you'll be crying.
Sweet.
And I think it's quite interesting because, like, it's one of the comments some of the people who've been playing playtest games that he said that you just don't like shooting. Not a lot of armies do like shooting, particularly ones that want to come across the board and fight you. What I think is deceptive about this army is how much range damage it can actually put out.
Yeah.
I think there are some things that will really hurt you, like Geminids is horrible. If you lose one attack off each profile, it makes a huge difference in damage output. Like -1 attack from Geminids or -1 to hit, suddenly you're hitting on 5s or 4s.
Yeah.
You're not really going to do a lot. And I think that magic can really ruin your day. But like I say, there is options there by taking the Glowy Lantern, and you never know. If you take the Glowy Lantern, if you're really worried about magic, you could even take the Maelstrom to give you ways to unbind. So, but I think there's enough variety in the army list you could take, even with just 4 War Scrolls and 3 Allegiances, which can keep you engaged and relevant for a long period of time. So,
I agree. I think that that there's enough flexibility, even though there's only 4 War Scrolls. There's enough flexibility within the options of the command traits and the allegiance abilities to make it, for you to enjoy, and because I think there's a lot of use in all of the the artifacts and stuff that you're going to be like, well, my list, I'm happy with this list, but I may take I'll tweak the artifacts and find that sweet spot that's right for you, or the one that that overperforms in certain games and it feels nice. But I do think I think that the army is going to be, I mean, A, it looks cool, B, it feels fun, and C, I actually do think it's quite competitive. Would I want to play it with my Stormcast TM build? Not a chance.
Probably not.
No, not a chance. I'd literally just get killed. There'd be no point. The game would be over. I'd have to play. I can't outscore you on objectives. I can't outfight you, and I've not got enough shooting to do you damage at a distance.
It'd be quite fun to combo charge that Star Drake and do 4d6 mortal wounds to it. Just like boom. Yeah. But
it's just.
I think it's a cool army, and I think what would be good about it is that it will be one of those that is going to be fun to play with, but also you're not just going and just going, well, I ain't got a chance, I'm just going for fun. We talk about match play. Let's say the models are cool. Who doesn't want an army with 6 models in it? I mean, it's less models than my Warcry warband.
I know.
I mean, and they're cool models, right? They're awesome.
Yeah.
So
it's going to have the same problems that every single army out there at the moment has to deal with, which is, can it deal with Seraphon? Can it deal with KO? Can it deal with Idnef Deepkin? And that is the 3 that are the gatekeeper armies, maybe even Tzeentch as well.
I think this is potentially another gatekeeper army. Because
I agree.
when you go to an event, you'll be like, can I deal with KO? Can I deal with INEF? Can I deal with Sons of Behemat? Because if your army's not designed to play against something like this, it's going to cause you fits.
Yeah, because you're just not going to beat it on objective play. If you play someone smart and savvy and realizes that the game isn't about pushing stuff forward and beating your opponent up, it's about outscoring your opponent on objectives whilst engaging them in engaging their units in a way that, you know, you deliver overwhelming force to a point of their army so they can't retaliate whilst you retain the objective. You're just going to struggle. You're just not going to be able to deal with it. You know, it's like...
That's why I like that kraken-eater list. I think it's good. I mean, we could talk about all our opinions. I think we've talked enough about mega-gargants. We will be... I'm going to get some games in over the next couple of weeks with these guys, and I'll give you guys some feedback. I don't know which list I'm going to take, but we'll play some proxy hammer, I'm sure, just to try things out. But I'd say thanks for watching this. If you found this useful, and obviously you're excited about this, let us know in the comments. If you like it, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Help support us.
Yeah. Please make sure you hit the bell notifications and stuff like that. It really helps with the algorithm and stuff like, and obviously, you know, it's all about feeding the algorithm of YouTube. But please comment. We try and engage with everyone. Do the social media thing, which is, you know, the Twitter, the Instagram. We've got it down below. I'll put some stuff on the screen. We're also going to link to some of the videos, like, you know, the unboxing video and stuff like that, if you want a really close look at what Russ has done with the model. And hopefully we'll have a follow-up video, which will show Russ's painted model, depending on whether that's up for this, you know, now. If it is, we'll put it in the link. If it's not, then, you know, it'll be shortly afterwards. But yeah, please engage with us. We really, really appreciate, like, you know, all of the comments and stuff that we're getting at the moment. So if you agree or disagree, just, you know, let us know. It's always nice to be have different points and stuff like that put across. It's really good.
And if you want to get more involved on a sort of more back and forth way, we've got a Discord community as well, so join that. You can find that link in our Twitter account description, and also in
the comments,
and
the comment section
and
below.
the comment below. So yeah, just join that and let us know. Again, thanks for listening. If you want to support us further, obviously we've got the merchandise, but what would really help us is if you're buying a Sons of Behemat army, go through our affiliate link for Element Games. It really helps. This takes a lot of time producing all this content, and although we enjoy it, it's, you know, it does take up time where we could be earning money being self-employed. So for us, it helps us do more content like this for you. So any support is greatly appreciated. So let's say thanks very much.
Oh, sorry, Russ, to cut across you. With regards to the army lists as well, if you do like those army lists, we're going to be talking to the wonderful people at Element Games, and we'll have like a one-click bundle, hopefully, for each of the army lists if you want to run these armies. And that will be on the FACEHAMMER section of the Element Games website as well. So that'll be really cool.
Yeah, and we've done with the FACEHAMMER Worldwide stuff, we also reached out to a lot of like YouTube creators and content creators who come on for interviews, which you can check those videos out on our channel. One of the things that we've been tagged in is the I Am a War Gamer series by AOS Coach, so Ant. So thanks very much for that. And we'll be doing a video on that shortly, where we would talk about who we are, what we're about, and why we're doing this content. And so we're going to have an introductory video up for the channel as well. So if you're watching this, maybe this is the first time you've interacted with us or seen us, we've been going since 2015. Doing podcasts. We've been there from the beginning of AOS. We're long-standing tournament players. We've got lots of painting accolades between us, and we're really all about giving our knowledge to you and using our experience to help level up your gaming, really. So check those videos out, and thanks very much for watching this very long video and staying to the end. Hopefully. But we appreciate all the interaction and comments, so thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.